Not only did I talk about my mental load and what it was doing to me physically, mentally, and emotionally, because it was draining me, but he shared stuff that he had never shared before about his mental load. And he talked about the pressure of performing well at his job so we can live the life that we want as our family. And those are things that I never even thought about. And it was incredibly eye-opening to be like, oh, you feel this way. And it wasn't even like I wanted him to necessarily take things off my plate. I just wanted him to understand like how much I do. And I wanted some credit. I wanted someone to just say, I don't know how you do all the things you do. And the conversation changed and shifted, and it was angry and it was heartfelt, and we were both very emotional. Obviously, we're talking about like our marriage and our family that we have been envisioning on what this life would look like. And then at the end of it all, we were just like, how can we better support each other?
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life in marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. This week, we have a special treat here. I have a repeat guest who is also a really great friend of mine, Sarah Parise. We are going to be talking about what a lot of my clients come to me about, which is, hey, I think we are struggling here. We're not really growing in the same direction. We want to make sure that we have a future together. How do we handle this? We've done the whole marriage thing, have kids thing, and we are drifting apart. We're finding it really hard to connect back together, and we're just knee deep in logistics and life. And so I have here Sarah Parise. She's a wellness coach for moms, and we're going to dive into how we can ensure that we continue to grow in the same direction, hand in hand with our spouse. And Sarah just celebrated her 10-year wedding anniversary. And so this was like a really perfect topic to cover because it's like fresh in her mind of what she's been doing with her husband. And I thought it'd be really great to have this conversation to share with you in line with it being February, it being Valentine's Day this week, because I want you to have the kind of marriage that you can see lasting, spanning through decades, okay, to the end of your life, and you feeling really good about it, not just being like, oh yeah, we're married for 30 years, but really behind closed doors, it doesn't feel good to be married to this person. You're just married out of convenience. I want you to be like, yeah, we're still flirting. We're still having fun. We're still in love. We still like each other. But without further ado, Sarah, please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are for those who are new to you, what you do, how old your kids are, and where you live.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me back. Like you said, I'm Sarah Parise. I'm a wellness coach for moms. So I think about being like an ACE certified personal trainer and then like a sanity saver for moms. So my whole thing is carving out just 2% of the day for your own physical, mental, and emotional well-being. We have 2 girls now, so things have shifted and changed through our marriage for sure. They're 6 and 8. And my husband and I did just celebrate 10 years of marriage. We have known each other since junior high. We've not been together since junior high. Probably something new to you as well. We didn't figure our life out until we were probably like 33, 34 and got married when we were 35. So it's been definitely a journey, and it's work, and people tell you it's work, but then you live it. And it's kind of like parenthood. People can give you advice before you become a mom, and you're kind of like, yeah. I always say, like, I was the best mom before I had kids. Like, I knew how to do everything. I knew how to do it all. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And then you have these 2 new humans, and you're like, oh, this doesn't bode well for anyone. How are we going to do this? And that's a little bit how I feel like marriage is sometimes. We have this vision, and then we shift and we change and we grow. And if we don't do it together, we see it all the time. Things don't go the way you want it to go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see a lot in couples. Hindsight is 2020. And for those who are like in it, they have like tunnel vision. They can't see from an outsider's perspective of what all happened and how it led them to be where they are, which is basically they've been on autopilot. They have let their life, their circumstances
shape who they've become instead of being really intentional about, hey, is this still serving us? Is how we're doing life together working for us? Or
Hmm.
do we need to shift things? So, can you share with us a recent conversation you've had with your spouse? I know that you said that you were talking with your husband and what it led to.
Absolutely. So at once that obviously there's months of buildup, right? There's months of buildup of I'm a small business owner. I've been pretty part-time since my kids were home. And this past fall was the first year that both my kids were in school full time. So there was a big shift. My business took off, it grew. I was way more than full time than I ever imagined, but none of my responsibilities at home changed or shifted. So I was still the one doing the grocery shopping and doing the food prep and getting the kids out the door in the morning because that's just how it had always been. And so I'd say things, little things here and there, like, could you do dinner tonight? Or I really need help in the morning. I have an early client. And my husband's amazing. Like, he's a great partner. He's a great teammate in all of this. But we just kind of became teammates. And it just felt like I was holding on to a lot of resentment because there's many times that I'm just like, "Oh, I would just love to just wake up and go to work in the morning, like not have to think about like anybody else. You get up, you work out, you don't have to make lunches, you don't have to do anything." And I was kind of like burying all of this. And it wasn't until right around Christmas, we always do one night away in New York, my parents to keep the kids. We go, instead of doing Christmas presents, we go out for a night, get a hotel, we like make a big thing of it. We've done it the last 5 or 6 years. And I was really looking forward to it. In no way, shape, or form was I thinking like, let's have the most serious conversation ever because we have this time away. Not the intention. But that we started talking at dinner and we started talking about just like my mental load and how much it was really weighing on me, and just started getting some things off my heart that just like really needed to be said in a way that the kids weren't listening. We didn't have to talk in code. It wasn't in passing, like, ships in the night, like sometimes you feel as a married couple, especially with kids in play. So the conversation started pretty simple, started like nothing else we had talked about, but then it turned pretty intense. And we finished dinner, we went back to the hotel room, the conversation continued. And not only did I talk about my mental load and what it was doing to me physically, like mentally and emotionally, because it was draining me, but he shared stuff that he had never shared before about his mental load at work. He's also in HR, like you were in your past life. There's so many individuals and stories and pressures, and he's always been the breadwinner in our family. And he talked about the pressure of that, of being performing well at his job so we can live the life that we want as our family. And those are things that I never even thought about. I was like, oh, you have a job, you go, you don't have to deal with like when school calls or the kids are sick or all the things that are shifting and changing as me as a mom. But he shared a lot of the things that he was going through, and it was incredibly eye-opening to be like, oh, you feel this way. And it wasn't even like I wanted him to necessarily take things off my plate. I just wanted him to understand like how much I do, and I wanted some credit. I wanted some acknowledgement. I wanted someone to just say like, I don't know how you do all the things you do. Like I needed to hear it. And he said those words and then a lot more. And the conversation changed and shifted, and it was angry and it was heartfelt, and we were both very emotional. Obviously, we're talking about like our marriage and our family that we have been envisioning on what this life would look like. And then at the end of it all, we were just like, how can we better support each other? And it came down to when he comes home and he has had a horrible day, a rough day, and he needs that time in between, whether it's he walks downstairs and he's working from home or on the commute home, he's like, it's not enough time to switch over into like fun dad mode. Like, I need more time. So I simply said, like, you just have to tell me that you need time, that maybe you do need to disappear to the office and just play mindlessly on your phone for a few minutes, whatever. Just tell me what you need. And we did a better job of checking in, of being like, when you come home and like, how was your day? It's not just like, yeah, it was good. Like, move on. It's like, how much do you have left in the tank? So like a few nights back, we had just come back from vacation. I was exhausted. I was like, I'm at like a 2% right now. Like, I got nothing left. The kids were wild and crazy. And he came home and he's like, okay. And we both know where we stood. He was like, I'm about at 25. Not great, but here I am. So we can work together to, when those things go south, especially the hardest part of the day, at the end of the day, to just admit that, yes, we're on the same team. We're both really tired. And this is how we're going to communicate things. And just talking about it way more.
Oh my gosh, Sarah. Okay, hold on. You just shared so much. And okay, first, I am so proud of you and your husband.
Thank you.
Okay.
It definitely was not an easy night. That is for sure.
It's not easy, but it was essential. And you guys grabbed onto that opportunity to grow as a couple. You
Mhm.
guys shared your vulnerabilities. You guys worked together. You guys understood each other more. And now you have created this plan to support you two in this current phase of life. And
Mhm.
that is incredible. Okay. So the thing where she said, I'm at a 2% in my tank and he said 25%, I learned that from Mel Robbins. And that's like a really, really great quick check in. Okay. Because we're
Mhm.
not always at 100%. Even if you're consistently practicing your self care and you are doing things to help yourself to have a great day, sometimes things just happen, whether you're like
Mhm.
in your luteal phase and you are tired as hell, right? You're
Mhm.
entering into that menstrual phase. You're going to have a lower capacity to handle things. And being able to just say, hey, this is where I'm at, then you two can kind of like change your standards for how the day is going to go. Or someone can be like,
Mhm.
you know what? I have more in the tank, so I will do this. And that is such great partnership, right? There's nights where I'm like, I'm sorry, I have nothing.
Mhm.
Like dinner's just going to be something frozen that I heat up, right? Like last
Mhm.
night, I had nothing in me. So I just like pan fried some frozen pot stickers and made some rice and called it a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's just where I was at. And he was like, I slept 2 hours the night before because I had a presentation to give today. And so I also have nothing. Okay, cool. So we're just going to have super low standards for us,
Mhm.
for our kids, and we're just going to make it through. Like that's just going to be our goal is just to make it to bed. And
Mhm.
that was just an understanding we had. And so I love that you did that. And I urge you to continue to do that because it's a really quick way to be like, hey, this is where I'm at without exploding and then having this long talk about, you know what? I'm going through this. And wouldn't it be nice if I could do whatever you're doing and be
Mhm.
you? And it avoids that like passive aggressive dance that you do where it goes nowhere and no one knows what to do. And your husband just looks at you crazy, like, what the hell did I just walk into? I'm going to go back to work or I'm going to go retreat into my man cave. You let me
Mhm.
know when you're fine.
And just the fact, like you said, last night was one of those nights to just like allow yourself that grace to be like, you know
Yes.
what, this is not Instagram worthy tonight, and that's
Mm-mm.
okay. Like it doesn't need to be this ridiculously healthy, well thought out, prepped dinner. It's
No.
like some of those nights people got fed, right? That's better than
Yeah.
not being fed, and that's sometimes what you need to do.
Exactly. I think practicing that like self-compassion is so key. Like, you
Hmm.
know, when we have those nights when we are so low energy and we end up giving the kids cereal for dinner, those are probably one of their best memories as kids. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to have cereal for dinner. That's incredible. And we give ourselves so much crap for
Hmm.
not providing them like the Martha Stewart of all meals to them every single freaking day. It's like, can we just live in we do our best at all times and that our
Hmm.
best can change and the ideal can just be what we do majority of the time? Like, can that be enough?
Hmm. But we
You
have
know,
all this outside pressure. Like we
yeah,
chatted
screw
before.
that.
Like I think about like where my exactly like what my grandmother did for like, what 58 years of marriage. Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the table, set time,
Mm-mm.
set thing, always a protein, always a vegetable, always a carb. Like I think about how she spent her life, and there was no self-care. I mean, she never did anything for herself.
Yeah, what's that?
Consequently, neither did my mother. So I grew up with a mom who never did it. She still doesn't do anything for herself. We're all gone and she's still not doing anything for herself. It was just something that she never saw. And then when I became a mom, I had those same feelings that I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm doing
Guilt.
everything of
Yeah.
just like, why am I doing this all? And we've had multiple shifts when we had our first kid, then we had our second kid. I started
Yep.
my business. There's been all of these shifts, and these hard conversations need to happen. And it's like the moms that I work with, I'm like, it doesn't have to be the way it is right now.
Mm-mm.
And I really believe in that if you're going to be married for a lifetime, things are going to change. Jobs are going to change. People are going to change. Kids are going to change. Like everything is in shift. It's in flux all the time. So we can't be expected to stay like our habits can't stay the same. because our
No, and
bodies aren't staying the same.
no, they're not. Tell me about it. Like, I am turning 40 this year, and girl, like, just over the past year or two, my body has changed so much, and I have not changed what I have been doing. And
Hmm.
I gained so much weight, and I was like, what is happening? My mom's like, you're getting older. I'm like, this sucks, you know?
I am not old.
Like, okay, I will take the wisdom and the growth that I've experienced, but like the whole physical change, like I could do without that. But anyway, that's for another topic. Um, but I just think it's so critical and awesome that you had that conversation with your husband about, hey, this is where I'm at right now. I am like going through it and it's just not sustainable. Like, I just need to be heard. And
Hmm.
how you having that conversation, which I'm going to guess wasn't filled with blame or criticism,
Hmm.
because you told me he also shared what he was going through, which he would have never done
Hmm.
if it was full of, well, you don't do enough and it's all on
Yeah.
me and da 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 da, like victim mentality, full of blame, full of judgment over how
Hmm.
he's not doing enough. It would have never gotten to that place where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that you are also going through it in a different
Hmm.
way, but it's affecting you. And if it's affecting any of us, it's affecting the marriage, right? Like all of the
Hmm.
things. And because you took it from a different, healthier approach, he was able to, instead of, using his time defending himself and pointing the finger back at you or whatever it is that he would do, he was able to drop his balls and be like, I'm also having a really hard time. I'm also feeling the pressure of making sure that I continue being employed and that I'm
Hmm.
continuously getting raises and the bonuses and da 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 da.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that made for a really productive conversation, productive and enlightening, so that
Hmm.
you two knew what to do going forward. Because without that insight from both of you, you're both just making a bunch of assumptions of what is okay and what's not okay. I'm sure he looked
Hmm.
at you, was like, you look like you had it handled. I had no idea.
110%. And I think the difference is not having the conversation in the moment. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
caught me on I was at 10% day and it
Mm.
started as like me snapping and then trying to have this conversation looks very differently
Oh, yeah,
than
no.
how it's calm and not necessarily planned out, but it was in a
Sure.
space that we knew we weren't going anywhere. No one had
Yeah.
to drop anybody off. We didn't know when we needed to put the kids to bed. Like to be able to carve out that time and space where we both could be calm in it, at least to start. It didn't stay all calm the whole time.
Sure.
People got emotional. These things are hard to talk about. But just be able to not do it like off the cuff, coming from a place of
Mm-hmm.
resentment and anger, I think made all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, when have you had a conversation that went well when you were super, super emotional?
Yeah.
No
But
one.
that's usually when we all have our conversations that we feel we need to have in that moment.
Which we need to stop, okay? Like this coming from a recovering emotional confronter, okay? Like, don't do that. It doesn't go well. It
Mhm.
will always catch your partner off guard and lead them to be defensive or come back at you full force and, throw stuff back at you. It's never going to lead down a positive path without going through the drama and the
Mhm.
hurt, okay?
And
So
the
if you want,
apologies
and the
and
apologies, right?
and the backpedaling and
Exactly. Oh my God. Let's not do that. Okay. There's no need for you to like tuck your tail between your legs because you said something that you regret now.
Mhm.
If you're feeling highly charged, that means you're low on patience, low on compassion, low on logic. Okay? Because you are in full like nobody does anything for me. I'm here by myself doing it all. Like you are in full victim mentality mode. Okay? You are
Mhm.
not able to see, oh, he does help me in these other areas. Oh, he has stuff going on. Maybe his capacity is also low like me. Like we're not going
Mhm.
to be very understanding. And so we're going to be like, ah, and it
Mhm.
doesn't go well ever.
Ever.
Okay. So like take it from us. Try to catch yourself before that happens. Give yourself some space to process everything that you're feeling. And until you are able to invite in additional perspective and maybe be a little more understanding of like why things aren't going the way
Mm-hmm.
they have been, maybe even reflecting on how you've contributed to things, then it's okay to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to be like pointed the finger at and be like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. No. They're gonna be like, what? You're not perfect either. Look at what you
Yes.
like, it doesn't go well.
Because we're human and that's like what our response is. And when you
Exactly.
react in that like fight or flight response in your relationship, you're going to fight. Most
That's
people
right.
fight first and then hopefully it doesn't lead to leaving, but hopefully you can have those hard conversations.
Exactly. And so, like, this kind of leads to the importance of making space and opportunities for you to have more of those in depth conversations. Because, like,
Mhm.
during daily life, what do? We get up, we get the kids ready for school, they go off to school, we do our thing, whether it's work or, if you're a stay at home mom, you do your own thing. And then they come home, and then it's like back to the hustle. Let's get dinner ready, do homework, get
Mhm.
ready for bed. And it's just like by the end of the day, our tank is empty.
Mhm.
It's like, even if you had the idea of like, oh gosh, that really frustrates me. Something happens. Someone asks for a snack, or someone's like, help me with math homework, or someone's having
Mhm.
a fight with their sibling. You forget. And because we are women from the previous generations, for good or bad, we have this deep well of discomfort that we can handle,
Mhm.
that we are willing to handle much longer than we should, because we're
Mhm.
like, well, it's something I am used to and that I have grown to be comfortable dealing with. Whereas if our child is uncomfortable, oh no, that can't happen. We got to deal
Mhm.
with that right away.
And it goes right along with self-care of like we're
Yeah,
very quick to make sure everyone else is taken care of. But when's the
exactly.
last time that you actually did something just for you? Not because
Hmm.
it was for someone else and you did it and you were tied in on it, but just for you
Right,
because
exactly.
it can make a world of difference.
So much. So, what do you do for self care? And what have you noticed the impact that it's had on your own feelings about life, how you are as a mom, how you are as a wife? What have you noticed from your
Mhm.
consistent devotion to yourself?
Mhm. Well, it wasn't always like that when I first became a mom because of this generational trauma that we all kind of carry
Hmm.
with us of like I became a mom, I was still doing everything. My body was different. I hated everything about it. I felt really broken in a lot of ways, not just physically, but like mentally, emotionally. And I thought was like, wow, what did I do? Like I have to live with this. And right around that 6 month mark hit some pretty dark postpartum depression doesn't even cover it, but very dark postpartum things going on and anxiety and stress and definitely depression. I was like, I can't live like this. I just can't do it anymore. So I went to one yoga class. And maybe I've told you this story before. And I walked in and I had a broken tailbone. So I couldn't lay on my back. I couldn't do a lot of things. Like my lovely daughter was nice and cozy in there, and my tailbone took the brunt of it when I birthed her. And I laid on the mat on my side and I realized that it was the first time I had really like left the house without thinking about anything. I had this 60 minutes in a yoga class and I just cried. And like up until that point, like I hadn't even cried. People are like, my doctor, I like the postpartum check. Are you sad? No. Are you crying every day? No. Do you find it hard to get out of bed? No. Okay, you must be okay. And I'm like, no, I'm pissed. I'm like mad at my situation. I'm resentful of like my life now. Of all the things, everything just came out that class. So here I am in Southern California, all these beautiful bodies flowing around me. And after class, the instructor who I'd never met, and now we're very dear friends, came up to me and she put her hand on my shoulder and she's like, listen, I don't know what you got going on, but you showed up. And all I can tell you is just keep showing up. And literally, and she knows this now, like completely changed my life and how I look at taking care of myself. Because from that day forward, I just showed up. And it might have been like a cup of tea out in the sunshine in the morning or a walk with my daughter. It definitely wasn't extensive spa days or long workouts. I just shifted my whole mentality on what it means to take care of myself. And that's where that 2% came in. of like move your body, fuel your body, and have a better mindset of like, you deserve this. Not only you deserve this, like your family deserves this. Your
Mm-hmm.
family deserves to have the best version of you. So that's when I started, very small. And I called the first program I developed Mornings for Mom, because we were all with kids. Nobody was alone. Nobody had childcare. And we would do these walks and these workouts with kids. Then we'd go out for coffee, and then we'd have that like mental, emotional kind of burst of energy and things. And it just became very clear that if I was going to continue to take care of myself, it had to be in small bite-sized pieces. And that was okay. And that's kind of the mentality I've kept for the last, now my daughter's 8.5, the last 8.5 years of like, yeah, an hour-long yoga class is beautiful. But most days I can't drive to a yoga studio, take a class, come home, shower. Like I don't have 2.5 hours to take for myself.
Mm-mm.
And that's okay. So kind of dropping the all or nothing and squeezing in, like right before our chat today, I had a few minutes. I went around the block. It was like a 10-minute walk. It's beautiful here today. Getting outside, getting that fresh air. It's not a full workout, but it's way better than just scrolling on my phone or answering work emails. So just carving out like a tiny bit of it affects all my relationships, and 100%, definitely my relationships with my kids, because they come home from school and I'm energized. I'm ready. I'm like ready to play with them. I'm ready to do whatever activity it has for that day for us. And then in my marriage, 100% of that. When I feel better about myself, I can give way more to my husband. And he notices it. Like he notices if I go a while and I'm really not taking care of myself. We go through those ebbs and flows. Be like, why don't you plan a morning for yourself? Like you've been working too hard at this stuff. You haven't taken a time out. And it doesn't take much. I think we overcomplicate things a lot when it comes to self-care. And we think spa days and weekends away and all those things are amazing. But in everyday life, those don't fit in. So you got to find what works for your schedule and for the chaos of motherhood.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed a huge change when I started walking in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I just like put on, a podcast, or like right now I'm like listening to an audiobook, and it's just like so nice to just be by myself and noticing like the trees and birds and just truly being present rather than just like continuously focusing on what's the next thing I have to do. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
what time is it? Oh, I got to pick someone up, or I got to go do this. I got to do that. But like just being where your feet are, like that phrase has stuck
Mm-hmm.
with me ever since
I
I
love that.
heard it. Be where your feet are. It's like, it's not in the future, it's not in the past, it's just like right here. So where are you
Mm-hmm.
at? And I noticed that ever since consistently taking care of my body, like, can I do more? Yes, I can do more, and I'm working on it. But the fact that I'm consistently moving my body in some
Mm-hmm.
way now, and it's become part of my routine, as someone who struggles with routine, I feel like a self-diagnosed ADHD. And so like
Mm-hmm.
it makes so much sense now. I'm like, oh, that's why I struggled. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And then it's just like something happens, I get sick, someone else gets sick, life. And then I just
Mm-hmm.
like fall off, right? But now
Yeah.
it's a habit of mine that I move my
Mm-hmm.
body somehow. I'm either going to tennis practice or I'm walking. As long as it's not like pouring rain, like I'm out there walking.
Mm-hmm.
And now I realize that, like, hey, I'm a much more fun mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more patient. I'm much more able to listen to their long stories and their like hundreds of questions every single day. And I'm for it. I'm answering it. Whereas before I'm like, oh my God, stop talking. Like, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
The patience is a big one. It's like
yeah,
when you
right?
start getting those feel good hormones through your system, even if it's small little things, that it makes
Exactly.
such a difference in everything. And you
Yes.
mentioned fun. It's like, I want to be a fun mom. Like,
Right?
I want to be able to
Who
like
wants to be
go
a
and
grumpy
play
mom?
and have the energy to like play tag on the playground and do those things. And not just with my
Exactly.
kids, but like also with my husband. Like
Yeah.
we were dating, it was super fun. Like, where did that go? Why did we become like these like referees in our life that we live
Right?
together and we referee our kids all day kind of thing? To be able to have fun with your partner too. And I think it
Yes.
all starts from taking care of yourself.
100%. Because when you don't, then it's like when they're joking with you or they're like slapping your butt, trying to flirt with you, you're like not available for that. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Like grow up, But
Yeah.
if you had the capacity from taking care of yourself, you would be playful right back with them.
Hmm.
And I find that like my sex drive has increased because I am now moving my body, like just like a blood flowing. I don't know what's going on, but like
Yeah.
I'm here for it because I'm not trying to be like some like old maid who, well, I shouldn't say that because there are people who get down in their old age in senior
But
homes. I've
that's
heard.
that's what you want to do. That's where I want to
That's my
be, right?
goal, right?
That's my
Like,
goal. I say I'm like training for my 90-year-old body. When people
okay.
are like, "Oh, what motivates you?" And I'm like, I want to be able to like still live when I'm old.
Heck
Like I
yeah.
still want to be in, yeah, I still want to have a sex life when I'm older. Like
Okay.
I don't want to like not have these relationships and not have that piece of life. So it's like you got to do all these things. Like you said, you're about to
Right?
turn 40. Like I'm in my mid 40s. I'm like 90's coming up quick. I'm halfway there already. I
My
got to I
gosh.
got to do something.
I mean, kind of true though. It's like the
Mhm.
habits we establish today are going to make or break our future, you know?
Mhm.
And I've been thinking like I need to add strength training because now I'm getting to the age where like that really matters, you know? Like
Big time.
that's going to be the thing that really positively impacts my future. And so I got to like start adding that into my routines. Like,
Mhm.
okay, now I got walking down and just like in general moving my body. Now it's like, okay, let's add every other day some kind of strength training so that I
Mhm.
don't end up some feeble woman. Because like
Mhm.
my parents, like my mom and my stepdad, they're very active people and they're like approaching 70s and she still goes on long walks. She's on a freaking European cruise right now, living her best life. Like,
It's amazing. Good
you
for
know,
her.
I'm like, dang, that's amazing. I'm so
Mhm.
happy that she now does things for her because, like your mom, she grew up in the era where you just do things for other people and that's it.
Mhm.
And that
And it
is
was
your
very
life.
much viewed as selfish if you
Yeah,
took time and did things for
exactly.
yourself.
Like they wanted on their gravestone to say, like, the most
Mhm.
selfless person, and they would be
Yeah.
proud of it. Like they wore it as a badge of honor.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, now we're like, mm-mm. Like when she's selfish and she says no, I'm like secretly like bummed because it doesn't work out for me. But I am
Mhm.
celebrating her for like sticking up for herself, you know, like you go, mom.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So you also recently went to Mexico.
We did. Yeah. We were going this is my tan face speaks
She's got sun
Mexico.
kissed tan hair. I love it. So for the moms out there who are like struggling with taking time and justifying taking time to do things just with their spouse, to leave their kids with a trusted person to watch over them.
Mhm.
What do you have to share with them? Because you are fresh off the trip, like you literally just got home.
We were there last week and
Yeah.
it is the one piece I'll tell people, like a lot of my friends, when they found out I was going to Mexico, I got it must be nice because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people my age, their parents are aging. They can't leave with grandparents.
Right.
They have younger children. And I like very much understand that I'm in a very blessed situation that we have grandparents nearby, we have friends nearby, extended family. It was a hodgepodge of people that stepped in to take care of my now 6 and 8-year-old, which is way easier sell than take a 2 and 4-year
Mm-hmm.
old. So that part I'm very aware of. But I will say, obviously, if you can get away with your spouse for multiple nights, you have to do it because it will do wonders for your marriage. Just to have fun again, to bring back that fun. I mean, we were pina coladas at 10 a.m., playing beach volleyball, doing water aerobics, eating when we were hungry, sleeping when we were tired. Like just to have not the responsibility of the day to day was incredibly just energizing, and both of our cups were so overflowing time we got home. It's exactly what we needed, but not everybody can do it. So one thing we did when our kids were a lot smaller, and even when I was breastfeeding, my parents would come out to LA to visit, and we'd go to a hotel near the airport for like 18 hours and just get away for like 18 hours. And our friends thought we were crazy. They're like, why bother? Like it's not. And I'm like, you have no idea what it's like to go to dinner, go back to the hotel room, pump because I'm breastfeeding, go to bed, and then wake up to nothing. Like wake up to
Mm-hmm.
not responsibility, to not having that
Because
need.
you woke up.
And because I
Not
woke up.
because someone else woke
Yeah.
you up.
So just having those, like, it doesn't matter how short a time it is. Like, yeah, dinner dates are great. And, you know, doing on a walk with your partner, anything counts. But if you can get a night away where you have that complete just disconnect with everything else, I think those are the times that I remember as like a younger mom. And it wasn't always like, it was never lavish. We'd go out for burgers, we'd come back to the hotel room, we'd fall asleep to a movie, super romantic, right? But that's what your relationship needs in that moment of parenting. So if you don't have people to say, take your kids for, we were gone for 4 nights. And we had neighbors took them for one night. My brother-in-law took them for two. And then my mother-in-law had them on Sunday night into Monday. So it was like, a village, legit village,
Mhm.
to make it all happen. And I'm so grateful that we're able to do that. But if you don't have that situation, still find time to just carve out for you and your partner.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so like I'm on the other end. So I, crazily left my whole tribe and moved to the
Hmm.
other side of the country. And so I don't currently have that level of support right now where we can
Hmm.
leave for several days. And I am still telling you, it is so important for you to dedicate alone time with your spouse aside from what you can after the kids are asleep. Like that's also
Hmm.
important to do because
It
that's what I
is.
call your micro connections, right? It's like
Hmm.
the long hugs, the cuddling, the small chats that you're able to have before you go to bed, the check-ins, all of that still essential. Those are what bridge the more macro connection opportunities that you have, which are like the solid dates, the trips that you
Hmm.
take together. But I will say, like, okay, so we both work from home, so we'll have morning dates every other week just because like of scheduling, right?
Hmm.
And it is so good to remember who you are as a couple, not like who you are as mom and dad, because you get daily reminders of who you are when you're mom and dad,
110%.
right? And it is so good to just like the word frolic comes to mind. It's like, how can you do that when you're like making sure people aren't dying by like crossing the street when they shouldn't be, or like putting
Hmm.
something in their mouth that they shouldn't be, or I don't know, whatever it is that your kids are doing, you're just on high alert all the time. And it's so refreshing when all you have to do is make sure you're okay because your husband, he's got himself. And
Hmm.
so when you're able to do that, that's when you really can just like relax into who you are and remember who you are as a partner, who you are as a wife,
Hmm.
and have those like moments of fun and laughter and inside jokes and just like getting to talk about whatever you want without those ears listening because they listen. They're
All the
so
time.
nosy. They're so
And
nosy.
and like you said, you left your tribe. You're like
Yeah.
building a new tribe on the other side of the
Yep.
country. So one of the
Yep.
best things that we did when we moved to our neighborhood is that we got to know all these families. We have a ton of kids
Mm-hmm.
in our neighborhood, and we do like flip-flop days. And it doesn't need to be
Yes.
night because night is hard and
Right.
bedtime is hard. Nobody ever puts anyone's kids to bed. It's kind of like our motto of like, but you can go out for a lunch date. And guess
Yep.
what? If you have a friend with kid and you say, hey, can you watch my kids so we can go out on a lunch date? You'll be surprised how quickly people say yes because you
For
know you're going
sure.
to repay the favor. And maybe they're in the same situation you're in. Maybe they don't have family. Maybe you're not somebody who feels comfortable leaving your kids with a babysitter.
Right.
But if your kids have friends and they're just going to go play at someone's house, this is a simple situation. If
They
you
watch
if you
each
have
other.
someone, yeah, they watch each other, and it's easier when you have other kids in your house. If you're like anything like
100%.
my house.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's our favorite way to hang out with other families is like,
Hmm.
okay, everybody come over to our house and we'll do a dinner thing. The kids are eating in a completely different room from the parents. And then they go upstairs into the playroom and they like act feral while we're like playing some kind of board game or drinking or just like having fun as if we have no kids. And,
Hmm.
we all have multiples. So like we're pretty chill
Yeah.
about it. It's like if no one's bleeding, like we're good,
The
we're
kids are
okay.
being feral.
They're
We're being
fine.
feral. It's
Yeah,
fine. Everyone's
exactly.
good.
It's fine. But it is so important to have that time to like remember who you are as an adult, right?
Hmm.
Like you are more than a mom. Okay? Like you have been a woman longer than you've been a mom. And I know that that transition may have been like very jarring and that you feel like that's who you are right now, but that's not who you are. It's just who you're allowing yourself to be because it's the loudest role that you have. So
Hmm.
remember like, hey, I was fun before, which means I can be fun again. Okay? So like take those opportunities, hire that sitter, talk to a friend like who do you really trust and
Hmm.
test them out. We recently hired my tennis teammate's daughter and we
Hmm.
hired her a couple times now. Like the first time was like, okay, we want to go to like the neighborhood ugly sweater party. Can you watch the kids? Cool. And then we're like, okay, now we want to go on a longer date. Can you come over at 4 o'clock and we'll be back by 11? And she put the kids to bed and it was awesome. It was
Hmm.
so awesome and
And it's
so worth
always
it.
worth it. It's like
Always
even
worth
like
it.
how I always feel like every time we do it, we're like, we need to do this more. It's like exercising. You
Exactly.
go to like a great class and you're like, wow, why don't I do this more for myself? And that's how
Exactly.
I feel on date nights too. I'm like, why don't we do this more? This is crazy.
Yeah. So make that plan. Like that's my hack is like while you're still on that date, make the date for the next one. Because
Mhm.
when you don't do that, that's when like life gets in the way and you're like, wow, it's been 4 months. Like we really need a date. And then at that point, you don't recognize that until things have gone bad. So
Mhm.
don't let yourself get to that point. Okay. So, like, that's my little pro tip for you there is like schedule your next date while you're still on the date because you're on that
Mhm.
high and you're like, oh, yeah, I love this. And this was so necessary. But then when you're off of that and you're back in real life, you forget about you and you just focus on the kids. So then,
Mhm.
then too much time passes. But anyway, thank you for being here.
Of
This was an
course.
awesome topic. I think that all couples need to listen to.
Mhm.
And Sarah, can you tell us about what you have going on? I know you have this self care challenge going on.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like all moms, no matter how good they are at self care, always can do, I don't want to say more because I don't want to make it feel like you need to put more on your plate, but like they can always evolve their version of self care.
And
So,
just some
can you
new
tell
different
us
ideas of what
exactly?
self-care looks like. So I think a lot of people when they first come into my world and they're like, I don't have time. I don't have time.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, okay, this we all could say that. We're all busy. We're all being pulled in a thousand different directions. So I put together this 30-day self-care challenge and it looks like a bingo board. So it's like you pick and choose throughout the course of the month what works for you that day. And it's everything from like recorded workouts to meditations to focusing on your hydration to journaling. And it's just all these little things really meant in less than 15 minutes. A lot of them are even like 2 or 3 minutes, but less than 15 minutes of the day just to give yourself a little boost of just to like a little confidence, a little energy, a little love for this amazing body that produced humans, and just to take care of yourself a little bit more in the month of February. And then each month, I'm going to change it a little bit. So we're going to kind of continue this. In February, I thought it was perfect around Valentine's Day, a little self love, a little self care. And not all the stuff like self care, I always say, doesn't have to be done by yourself. These are things you can do with a partner, you can do with your kids, you can do as a family. So many of them the kids will love.
Yeah, and also let's not have more generations of being clueless of what
Mm-hmm.
it means to take care of yourself. And it's not a luxury, okay? This is like your baseline minimal care that you need to provide for yourself. So, like, do this and show the future generations that it's okay to do this. Like, this is what we need for fuel to continue being who we are and also being there for other people. Okay. So go sign up for Sarah's challenge. Go connect with her on Instagram. Can you share your Instagram handle so people can follow you?
Absolutely. It's Great Days by Sarah. My whole belief is that we all deserve to have more great days. And especially, with kids as moms, like our days aren't prioritized like that. I have two daughters and I want them to see me living in a great way. I want them to see me taking care of myself in a healthy way.
And they're so lucky to have you doing the work,
Thank
even though
you.
you weren't shown how. And so, yeah, go check out Sarah's Instagram, go join the challenge. And I hope that you are walking away having the excitement, the motivation to go do something, whether that's setting up your next date, whether that's taking care of yourself, or both, actually, that would be ideal. Okay, that
Mhm.
would make me so happy. Go do something to better your life somehow today. Okay, like improve your life, like Sarah says, just by that 2%. What can you do from this episode that will improve your life? Just that 2%. Okay. 2% every single day adds up. Your life will be completely different this time next year if you just focus on what can I do to improve my life 2% today. Okay. So go do that, connect with Sarah, and then let us know what you love most about this episode because we love hearing from you. We love that you are doing something with what you're hearing and that coming on here on this episode is actually helping you improve your life. Okay. And of course, if you know anyone that could benefit from listening to this episode, do her a solid, share it with her, or better yet, post it in your stories and tag us. And if you love the show, leave a rating and review. I would so appreciate that. That helps this show grow and reach more people like you so that they can get the help that they need. All right, that's all we have for today. And I will catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perda Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.